And as I see him approach the door, I look down at my phone, I cue up a song.
And right there, she admits credibly she never saw John go into the house.
Mr. O'Keefe was involved in a physical altercation, either inside the house or garage. During that altercation, the Albert's German Shepherd attacked him.
I didn't do it.
I'm a good dog. I didn't do it.
And there's the look of our cuddly but violent Higgy Bear when he knows he's caught. Karen Reed has finally filed her civil lawsuit against the various defendants, and every single lawtube has covered it. The question is, who should we watch? We surveyed 2,000 women, including my wife, to determine who we should watch. Let's find out the results.
Yes! No! Oh, man, I can't believe it.
Well, surprise, surprise, 100% of the women chose to watch Peter, so let's watch.
The civil lawsuit Karen Reed has filed against Proctor.
Funny, I'm going through his retarded client's phone. No nude so far.
Tully.
There's probably 8 to 10 inches.
Buchanan.
Yuri Buchanan.
Yuri Buchanan.
It's raining men. Hallelujah, it's raining men. Raining men.
McCabe's, Alberts, Higgins, all of them has dropped. We are going to read through it together. We are going to focus on the details that they explain for the very first time, I feel like, in black and white, exactly what they believe happened that ended the life of John O'Keefe.
In order to prove her claim, Karen's lawsuit must set forth that she didn't kill John and provide who actually did.
Brian Higgins.
That's still a great opening.
This lawsuit is 45, 46 pages long. The most important thing for us to look at is who is included and who is not included. Karen Reed obviously is the plaintiff. The defendants are Michael Proctor, Sergeant Yuri Buchanan, Lieutenant Brian Tully, Brian Albert.
Brian, last name Albert.
Nicole Albert.
Nicole Albert. But I was just picking up the area, cleaning, probably checked the bathroom to make sure that was clean. Just my usual thing that I do, picking up around the house.
My mom got home and I knew went right to cleaning because she likes to clean. So she was in the kitchen picking up.
My sister, Nicole, was in the kitchen wiping the counters because she's always cleaning. My sister was cleaning.
Jennifer McCabe, Matthew McCabe, and Brian.
Brian Higgins.
No Colin Albert. None of the quote-unquote kids.
And that's huge but expected. For some reason, Colin Albert was initially thought to have been involved in the murder of John O'Keefe. It simply wasn't. Many people say, well, maybe he has no assets. Maybe he wasn't there. Maybe he was there. It doesn't matter. If Karen Reed's team believed that he was involved in any way in the murder of John O'Keefe, they would have to name him as a defendant. Otherwise, they would not preserve the claim against him, and it would be unethical and definitely legal malpractice.
And we'll talk about exactly what that means as we get through the allegations in this complaint. Number 2, right here, is Karen Reed's description of what she believes and her team believes. All of the evidence did a couple things that we saw in the criminal trial. It proved what could not have happened that night, a la a car accident, and it also proved what did happen. That's what they're saying. That's their allegation, and we start to get that here in paragraph 2 right off the jump.
Jump. Do you like me? I said yes, from jump. Defendant said, when was jump?
The jump.
I said, first time I saw you.
Paragraph 2. Karen Reed did not kill her then boyfriend, Mr. O'Keefe.
That is 100% accurate. It is impossible for Karen Reed to have killed or even hit John O'Keefe with her SUV.
Rather, in the early morning hours of January 29th, Mr. O'Keefe was killed in the defendants Brian and Nicole Albert's home at 34 Fairview Road in Canton, in an altercation during a late-night house party with other defendants, collectively the House Defendants. The House Defendants responsible for Mr. O'Keefe's death concocted a plan immediately after the altercation to avoid culpability and to frame Karen Reed. Rather than call first responders for help, among other actions, the House Defendants...
They later defined the House Defendants as Brian Albert, Nicole Albert, Brian Higgins, Jen McCabe, and Matt McCabe. Obviously, because Colin Albert was not there and had nothing to do with it at the time John O'Keefe arrived, he was not named.
Conducted a Google search for information about how long to die in the cold, moved Mr. O'Keefe's body outside and placed him on the Albert's front lawn near the road to make it look like Mr. O'Keefe was hit by a vehicle and that he died in the snow without ever coming into the house that night. Mr. O'Keefe's body remained in the Albert's lawn until Karen Reed found him later in the morning.
Paragraph 2 contained a summary of what Karen Reed's attorneys allege happened. If you notice here, they say that John's body was left out to be hit by a vehicle. Later on, we're going to see the allegation is that they put John's body out near the front to make it seem like Karen's vehicle hit John O'Keefe, and that's probably not true.
Brian and Nicole Albert's son, Brian Albert Jr., and his friends were already at the house for Brian Jr.'s birthday. In addition, Colin Albert, Brian Albert's nephew, was present. Miss Reed and Mr. O'Keefe had never been to the house before January 29th, 2022. They arrived in the front of the Alberts' home around 12:20 a.m.
The data from both the prosecution and the defense evidences that John O'Keefe exited Karen Reed's vehicle at precisely 12:24 and 28 seconds.
What time did the location data indicate that John O'Keefe's phone arrived at 34 Fairview on January 29th?
12:24 and 28 seconds.
That means that all the action taking place before, the up, the down, going upstairs, down flights, was actually occurring as they were driving to 34 Fairview. There is now no question as to that being the truth. However, many people still believe that John actually traveled down the stairs at 12:20. It's simply impossible. We have data indicating exactly where he was at 12:20. He definitely wasn't parked in front of Karen Reed's house at that time.
Miss Reed was reluctant to attend the party for several reasons, including that she was unsure whether they were at the correct location.
She was also very reluctant to go because
Brian Higgins
was probably there,
and whether they were even welcome to the late night party. Mr. O'Keefe got out of Miss Reed's SUV and indicated that he would check out the party and report back to her.
We arrive at 34 Fairview.
Did you pull into the driveway?
No, I pulled at the foot of the driveway. It didn't look like there was any soiree going on.
Karen Reed gave two public statements with regard to what occurred when she dropped John off. We have the HBO interview as well as a 2020 interview. Let's watch.
It didn't look inviting. The outside was dark, and I didn't see any familiar looking vehicles. I said, go chat, let me know, and I'll follow you behind. And I said, John, can you make sure we're welcome? And he said, I'll run in. It's snowing, it's windy. So I drop him off, he goes up the driveway.
Listen closely to how Karen describes John's potential entry in the house in both interviews.
So when John got out of the car, he took my full vodka soda, which is sitting in the cup holder.
Mr. O'Keefe walked to the front door, garage door area of the house, and entered one of the two doors.
And he walked up the driveway, and John always kind of skipped and walked at the same time. He was always in a rush, and approaches the side door. And as I see him approach the door, I look down at my phone. I cue up a song.
In the ABC interview, Karen admits she never saw John go into the house. In fact, she says once she got to the doorway, she looks down at her phone, puts on some music, and checks some emails.
Just start browsing through missed text messages and a couple emails. I probably waited about a full minute, and I look back at the door. I would have expected him to be either walking back to me or calling me.
And right there, she admits credibly she never saw John go into the house.
That, yeah, we're here.
And entered one of the two doors.
And I saw him reach the breezeway door, which is the side front door.
This is the HBO documentary.
And he opened the door and went to walk in.
He opened the door and went to walk in. She's not conclusive that John actually entered the house, and this is very critical. The breezeway had two doors, one going into the house and one going into the garage. The entrance from the breezeway into the house has two doors. John most likely opened that first door and then knocked. And that's when old Higgy Bear attacked. He either was waiting in his girly Jeep right in front of the garage or standing outside of it, but that's when the attack most likely occurred. And despite alleging that John went into the house in her complaint, in both of her interviews, she is not certain that John actually went in.
And entered one of the two doors.
And as I see him approach the door, I look down at my phone.
A period of time passed without any word from Mr. O'Keefe. Miss Reed, who was still hesitant to join, presumed that Mr. O'Keefe intended to stay, and therefore she left to go home without him.
I waited probably a minute, and he doesn't come.
My ex-wife never had that problem.
And it only took like 2 or 3 minutes for me to be irritated. So I called him. I probably waited about a full minute, and I look back at the door. I would have expected him to be either walking back to me or calling me that, yeah, we're here.
Did you kill John O'Keefe?
I did not kill John O'Keefe.
Despite our differences as to exactly how and where Brian Higgins killed John O'Keefe, we all are on the same team, and we all believe this one fact. Karen Reed had nothing to do with the murder of John O'Keefe.
You can tell in this that there are some details they just don't know. Very clearly saying he went inside, she sat out there, and then she left.
At some point after entering the house garage, Mr. O'Keefe was involved in a physical altercation, either inside the house or garage. During that altercation, the Alberts German Shepherd attacked him, and Mr. O'Keefe sustained multiple dog bites and scratches on his right arm.
I didn't do it. I'm a good dog. I didn't do it.
He also suffered an incapacitating counter coup wound on the back of his head.
The attack of John O'Keefe took about 3 seconds. He was hit in the head, fell back, and the real injury occurred when he slit the back of his head on a ridge surface. The entire event occurred in less than 3 seconds. It's not plausible that John O'Keefe entered the house, had all that commotion go on, and no one in the house heard. You have to remember that not only the kids, but Hen McCabe and her husband were all looking out the front window. This attack had to occur very quickly and most likely occurred on the outside of the house, right in front of the garage.
Mr. O'Keefe's wound was caused by falling backward and striking a rigid surface. The Alberts garage contains such surfaces. By contrast, the head wound could not have been caused by a vehicle strike or falling backward onto a flat, cold lawn like the Alberts.
And that's 100% correct. Just because the garage had a ridge surface doesn't mean it actually happened there. There are plenty of ridge surfaces outside the garage, including that snowplow.
Because of their knowledge of criminal investigations, the Alberts, the McCabes, and the Higgins, house defendants, knew that calling for medical care to help save Mr. O'Keefe's life would trigger immediate and irreversible risk of their own criminal exposure.
If the altercation took place in the house and then everyone subsequently covered it up, this statement would be true. However, there's more evidence to show that Brian Higgins attacked John O'Keefe outside the house, outside the view of the kids that testified credibly they never saw John O'Keefe come into the house.
Therefore, at least the 5 of them had agreed on a simple plan to exonerate themselves and implicate Miss Reed.
Notice how Colin Albert is not named as a defendant. He's also not included in the definition of the house defendants, nor are there any allegations that Colin Albert had anything to do with the murder of John O'Keefe, including covering it up.
They would tell anyone who inquired Mr. O'Keefe never entered the house.
No, they never came into my home.
At any point in time, did you see either of them inside the house or outside of the house or around the house or anywhere around 34 Fairview Road?
Absolutely not, no.
John O'Keefe and Karen Reed never entered my house.
No, neither of them ever came into the home.
And at any point in time, did John O'Keefe come into the house?
No.
This is the exact view from inside the house, and if you look here, it's not very big. Remember that Brian Albert and his 2 friends were sitting around these tables, and the McCabes were also looking out the window. It is not credible that John O'Keefe entered the house and then Brian Higgins or Brian Albert attacked him. They all would have saw that because this action took place between 12:24 and 28 seconds and basically 2 minutes after that. And if you just glance to the right, you can see the entrance to the front door. Although Karen Reed said that John O'Keefe approached the breezeway, she never conclusively said that John O'Keefe went into the house, nor did she ever imply that he went into the front door. And when you analyze the floor plan, you see the 2 entrances in the house. If anyone was congregated in the kitchen or looking out the window, it is not plausible at all that they wouldn't see John O'Keefe come into the house
and hide evidence that he was there, including his body. Sometime during the night, they repositioned a Ford Edge vehicle at a spot adjacent to the front lawn, which obscured the view of that area of the lawn from potential passerby. At some point further in the night, they carried or dragged Mr. O'Keefe's body to that same area in the yard, close to where one or more of them later claimed Miss Reed dropped off Mr. O'Keefe earlier that night. The plan was devised to make it appear that Mr. O'Keefe had been struck by Miss Reed's vehicle and then died as a result of exposure to the cold.
Recall in paragraph 2, the allegation is the body was moved to make it appear that some vehicle struck John O'Keefe. But now, in paragraph 36, they're claiming the body was moved in order to make it appear that Karen Reed struck John O'Keefe. That's simply not true. There is no way when Brian Albert planted John O'Keefe's body near the flagpole on that very morning, he would have any possible clue that Karen Reed can be implicated in this crime because he doesn't know yet that her taillight was broken.
Any of the people that were in the house, do you recall seeing them go outside of the house and come back or anything like that?
I can't say definitively I saw anybody come in or out of the house, but I think somebody might have been in the process of maybe being picked up.
This is Brian Higgins, old Higgy Bear. He's the one that struck and killed John O'Keefe. He did so most likely outside of the view of any of the people in the house. He eventually got Brian Albert to help him dispose of the body. However, it's very plausible neither the kids nor Jen McCabe or Matt McCabe had any clue that Brian Albert attacked and killed John O'Keefe.
Not anybody that you were super familiar with, is that fair to say?
I think it was one of the females.
Either of those people or any other people, no one else came into the house while you were there?
Correct.
Where you were seated around the table, could you see the front door?
Yes.
And so beyond the people that you'd already talked about being in that kitchen dining room area in that second group, did anybody else come into the house that night while you were there?
No.
Julie Bagel testified that nobody came inside that house after all the adults arrived. That means that if you believe her, and if she seems credible here, John O'Keefe never entered the house. Couple that with both of Karen Reed's interviews claiming she never saw John O'Keefe enter that house definitively, that means that most likely the attack took place outside of the house. Otherwise, these kids would have seen it and they would have been implicated in the murder. However, they were not named as defendants.
Did you see anybody else come into the house while you were there between that 12 to 12:13 and 1:45?
No one else came in, no.
No one else came into the house after them, no.
Recall that at 11:57 and 50 seconds, Brian Higgins is seen threatening John O'Keefe on video at the waterfall. 23 minutes later, at 12:20, Brian Higgins is most likely sitting in this Jeep threatening John O'Keefe, telling him to come to 34 Fairview.
I said, "Are you coming here?" followed by 3 question marks.
4 minutes later, John O'Keefe walks up that driveway and enters the area of the breezeway.
What time did the location data indicate that John O'Keefe's phone arrived at 34 Fairview on January 29th?
12:24 and 28 seconds.
And Karen Reed never saw him go in the house. It is most likely that at that point, Brian Higgins attacked John O'Keefe somewhere between the breezeway and in front of his girly Jeep.
You were asked the question, quote, "Did that male come inside the house?" You answered, "I believe he did." Question, "So you saw someone else come?" Answer, "Somebody else." Yes. Correct?
Yes, but I also said that I wasn't paying attention.
I realize that you want to explain your answer. You were asked how long was the person in there roughly, and you said it was quick. Less than a couple of minutes. It was quick.
Yes.
And then you were asked what he looked like, and you said, "I feel like they were a little bit taller. Maybe had dark hair." Correct?
Yes.
So you testified that a tall, dark-haired male came into the house, at least briefly, correct?
Yes.
Higgins initially denied anyone came into the house, but he was questioned by the FBI. And in that interview, he admitted that a tall, dark-haired male quickly entered the house. Most likely, he was afraid that the FBI already knew that John O'Keefe approached the house. And when John O'Keefe approached that house at 12:24 and 35 seconds, that's when Higgy Bear most likely called him over and attacked him, and then ditched the body on the side of the house.
Approximately when in the timeline of events did that unidentified male enter the residence?
I don't know the time frame. It would have been while I was there.
Why did you leave so quick?
Because it was a long day and I just wanted to go home.
Except you didn't go home, did you?
And there's the look of our cuddly but violent Higgy Bear when he knows he's caught. Those kids credibly testified that John O'Keefe never entered the house. The only person that ever admitted that John O'Keefe even came close to the house was Brian Higgins. Karen Reed's attorneys did not sue Brian Albert Jr. and his 2 friends. They all testified that John O'Keefe never came into the house, and they were extremely credible.
Did you see anybody else come into the house while you were there between that 12 to 12:13 and 1:45?
No one else came in, no.
No one else came into the house after them, no.
Correct.
And that supports the theory that we have now, that old Higgy Bear attacked John O'Keefe not inside the house, but right after he approached the door in the breezeway. Inch by inch, day by day, we are getting closer to narrowing down exactly when Brian Higgins killed John O'Keefe and then disposed of the body with the help of Brian Albert. Either way, we are not going to stop producing these videos until the real killer,
Brian Higgins,
is brought to justice. This crime was very simple to solve because it took place within a very small area over a very short period of time with a very limited amount of suspects. One or more of these 10 people has to be the killer of John O'Keefe. That's how easy this is. Once you remove the kids and the McCabe's, you're down to just 3 suspects: Brian Albert, Higgy Bear, and Chloe. Since Chloe's a good dog, she didn't do it.
I didn't do it. I'm a good dog. I didn't do it.
So that leaves just 2 suspects, Brian Albert and Higgy Bear. But of the 2 Brians, only one had the means, motive, and opportunity to kill John O'Keefe. And that's our old cuddly but violent Higgy Bear. Once we had all the facts and didn't jump to conclusions, do you see how easy it was to solve this crime?
I had nothing to do with John's death.